When you're scrolling through a sea of flashy gaming laptops, it's easy to feel the pressure of choosing something that's both a powerhouse and a practical daily driver. Most of us have been there reading a headline spec, picturing a smooth frame rate in the next big release, then wondering if we'll actually get any use out of that extra wattage once the game is over. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. In this review, I'll walk through what the Lenovo Legion Pro 7 really delivers in a typical day, where its strengths shine, and the moments where it might feel like you're paying for a feature you'll never use. First, let's talk about the kind of setup most gamers end up with. You probably have a monitor on your desk, a decent mouse, maybe a headset, and you want a laptop that can take the heat of modern titles, handle a few hours of streaming, and still be light enough to toss into a backpack for a LAN weekend. The Legion Pro 7 is positioned as a no-compromise machine, and that claim forces us to look beyond the marketing buzz. It runs an Intel Core Ultra 9275HX, a 24-core chip that's split into performance and efficiency cores. In real-world terms, that means you can have a game running on the high-performance cores while a background voice chat or music player sits on the efficiency side without stealing frames. I tested this by launching Cyberpunk 2077 on max settings, then opening Discord and Spotify simultaneously. The frame count held steady around 70 frames per second on the 16-inch WQXGA panel, and I didn't notice any stutter when a friend dropped a voice message. That's a concrete indicator that the CPU isn't just a headline number, it actually keeps the multitasking flow smooth. The display is another area where the Legion Pro 7 tries to justify its premium price. A 256/1600 IPS screen at 165 Hz offers more vertical real estate than the typical 19201080 panels you see on most 15-inch gaming laptops. For a developer who also likes to game, that extra vertical space means you can have code editors open on the top half, while the bottom half stays dedicated to the game window. The color accuracy is decent out of the box. I ran a quick calibration using a free tool, and the sRGB coverage landed around 95%, which is good enough for casual photo editing without needing a hardware calibrator. The higher refresh rate really shines in fast shooters. When I swapped to Valorant on ultra-low latency mode, the motion felt buttery, and the reduced input lag was noticeable compared to my older 144 Hz laptop. Now, the RTX 5080 is the headline GPU, and it's a step up from the RTX 4070 series that most mid-range laptops sport. The 16 GB of dedicated VRAM lets you push textures in games like Starfield without hitting a memory ceiling. In practice, I saw a 1,015% boost in average frame rates over a comparable RTX 4070 system when playing at the laptop's native resolution. That translates to a smoother experience, especially in open-world titles where texture streaming can cause microstutters. However, it's worth noting that the laptop's thermal design keeps the GPU clock around 90% of its boost potential after 30 minutes of sustained load. The fans ramp up noticeably, and you'll hear a distinct whine if you're in a quiet room. It's not a failure, just a trade-off for keeping the chassis thin. If you plan to game for marathon sessions in a bedroom, you might want to invest in a cooling pad to keep temperatures under control. Storage and memory are where the Legion Pro 7 feels generous. A 1TB PCIe SSD loads games in seconds. Elden Ring went from launch to playable in under a minute, which is a tangible time saver over the minutes you'd wait on older SATA drives. The 32 GB of DDR5 RAM, split into two 16 GB sticks, means you can comfortably run a virtual machine, a browser with dozens of tabs, and a game simultaneously. I used the laptop for a week of remote work, running VS Code, a local Docker environment, and League of Legends in the evenings. No slowdown, no need to tweak settings. That level of headroom is something many gamers overlook until they actually need it. On the downside, the battery life is a reality check. With the high-performance CPU and GPU, you're looking at roughly 2 hours of gaming on a full charge. Even with just web browsing and music, the battery drains to 50% after an hour. If you expect to game on the go without plugging in, this isn't the laptop for you. The chassis, while sleek, is a bit heavier than the ultra-portable alternatives, about 2.9 kilograms. That's still manageable for a backpack. but you'll feel the difference compared to a 2 kilograms model when you're walking between classes or meetings. Another practical consideration is the port selection. You get 2 USB-A 3.2 Gen 1 ports, 1 USB-A 3.2 Gen 2, a USB-C with DisplayPort 1.4, HDMI 2.1, and an Ethernet jack. For a gamer who uses a wired network, the Ethernet is a plus. I didn't have to rely on a dongle for stable ping. However, the lack of a dedicated